booties for black girl nerds.
Thanks so much for taking the time to speak with me. Appreciate it.
How you doing?
Hi.
Hello. So I will start with you. Throughout Opus, we see Ariel's resilience, but also we see moments of vulnerability. How do you think vulnerability plays into her survival, into the larger themes of the film?
Oh, I mean, I think for her it's kind of crucial, but like it's I don't know, balancing it because she I think is very vulnerable when she's pleading to everybody to like believe her or when she's like asking questions in a way, but she also has to sort of wisen up in moments and like protect herself, and also I think try to protect everybody else too. But then at a certain point, she's just like, I just have to make it out of here on my own because nobody's really believing me right now. Yeah, but I think it's this thing that both is like the thing that I think that protects her, but also puts her in danger.
Ooh, wow. Yeah, indeed. John, over to you. Moretti is a character with layers, playing this pop star turned cult leader. How do you find the balance between portraying a character that's charismatic, but also deeply sinister?
Um, well, I think one thing you always have to try to do. I say this a lot. I direct a lot of plays, and I try to urge my cast to consider that. You have to try and stay ahead of the audience, and audiences are so visually educated, and they get stories so much more quickly than say they did when I was starting in the cinema and movies. So you have to try and stay ahead of them, and it's not a good idea to show that a character, especially to constantly show that a character is in some way dangerous or devious and keep pounding at it. It's better to let the action of the piece reveal that.
Yeah, I love that. I absolutely love that. And Juliet, for you, Clara seems to be deeply embedded into Moretti's world. What was your approach to playing her, especially considering the unsettling and mysterious dynamics of the group?
Yeah, I was just playing one of these, a woman who always has to have the say and has that overconfidence. But I think once she's in Moretti's actual presence, I think she totally gets starstruck and gets thrown off anytime he shines his light in her direction. So she gets a little bit dismantled. Yeah, and so it's easier to have her end up in the state that she's in. So it's always fun to play the unexpected, to try to find that. What you reveal and conceal is always the dance.
Yeah, and such incredible dynamic characters each of you guys play respectively. And Stephanie, for you, there's a sense of ambiguity surrounding Emily, which keeps the audience guessing about her true motivations. How did you approach portraying this character who has to maintain this level of mystery while still being relatable to the audience?
Yeah, and I think that's something Mark Anthony and we wanted to still make her likable, because I think immediately when you think of an influencer or something, everybody kind of gives an eye roll because there's that stereotype, which is totally true in some cases, but sometimes not, And so we definitely wanted her to be relatable, and I think it's really interesting because each character is kind of on the spectrum of narcissism, and I think her own narcissism kind of blinds her from maybe seeing anything that's going on around her. So I think like just being a little self-involved kind of is the mystery, because she's not really there to have any relationships with anyone else. I think she knows that what she's there to gain for her own, clout or engagement. And so I think that's kind of what motivates her.
And Io, back to you. Opus is a horror thriller that defies the typical isolated mansion setting. How did you feel about playing in like an open, expansive ranch location, and how did that impact your performance?
Yeah, I was running a lot. It was nice because it was my workout. It came with the job. But I was excited. I never done anything like that before, and I never filmed in New Mexico, and I never worked with this wonderful group of people. So I was just excited and kind of came for the challenge, I guess. It was fun.
You guys look like you had a lot of fun. John, there's a certain level of mystery surrounding Moretti. What do you think drives him to create such a cult-like environment? And what do you think makes him tick as a character?
I I think people who have an overabundance of narcissism sometimes would like to have an overabundance of control over others. So that would be my guess about where it comes from.
Hmm,
Excuse me.
indeed. Well, I again loved each of your performances. This was such an interesting and compelling film. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak to Black Girl Nerds. I really appreciate the conversation. Good.
We've never met in person, but I've read your stuff and I'm a fan.
Oh, well, I didn't get a chance to meet you at the reception, but I'm glad to know that you're a fan, and I'm so excited to talk to you about your movie, which
And
I enjoyed at Sundance. So yeah, you've mentioned wanting to avoid typical horror movie cliches. How
yeah,
did how did you challenge genre conventions to make Opus stand out as a horror film?
I love that question. I mean, there's a few things that are like kind of technical in like the pacing, for example.
Mhm.
So I am a huge fan of Japanese and Korean horror films. Takashi Miike is one of my favorite director. There's an homage to Audition in the film. And one thing, there's some of my favorite films follow this pattern. What I'm about to say, so this is not a shot because their movies are great, but there's like a formula where you start off with like a big kill or something that grabs people's attention, and then you figure out who they are, but you have 15 minutes before there has to be another kill, and the structure of Opus just does not follow that. And I think that that in itself is kind of like challenge one to the audience, right? And two, I wanted Ariel to be a flawed but really smart young Black woman. And I never wanted her to run into the room with the boogeyman, or to like get a gun and then put it down, or fall while she's running. And I wanted her to ask questions and to uh, exude a type of savviness and a type of intelligence that reminds me of the Black woman in my life. And that, for whatever reason, is can is kind of just contradictory to a lot of the horror films and Black women that we've seen in these films. Um, so there's that. There's things like the music feels good, the songs that John sings, and they're not like creepy songs. And so I think that's another thing that makes people kind of like really messes with the genre. It's kind of our version of you see certain horror movies and they all take place in daylight, like Midsommar, which I thought was really, successful. Um, and so us having music that makes you want to dance, uh, bookended with very violent things. I think that there's a lot of that in a macro sense, that mirrors the thesis of the film, which is about tribalism and about these people that we love and idolize, and how on Monday they could release a thing that makes us feel good, Tuesday do something awful, and then Wednesday, put more candy out into the world. And so I wanted the film itself to mirror that experience. Um, so it's working on a lot of levels, and I'm really excited just to see people's response from it, and how challenging, uh, how they're like accepting the challenge and really responding to the film, which is it's made my little heart sink. So
I love it. I mean, I love films that are so dense where you can just unpack it and have a lot of conversations around the
yeah.
film. I went to film school, and my friend and I, when I used to live in New York, we would watch movies and we would just, after the movie is over, go to a restaurant in
It's the
town.
best.
Yeah,
What
and just
movie theater did you go to?
oh, we went to the Empire 25,
Nice.
and
Yeah.
yeah.
That's real
So
movie hit. I'm a firm believer in New York. Like, don't go make the Angelica your go-to theater. Like, go tap in.
Angelica's nice too, and the
It's
IFC
Angelica is
theater.
sick, but like I feel like for the, give me that Empire. There's something about that just it's gritty. I don't know. I love that theater.
But yeah, and we would go at a restaurant and we would just talk for hours. So I love that. And your film is definitely in that crop of movies where you can
Thank
have
you.
those conversations. Opus plays with psychological tension, mystery, surrealism. What's the central theme or message that you wanted to explore with this film?
It's try it, has tribalism, does it still serve us? And obviously Moretti's a singer and entertainer, but tribalism as a global pandemic, uh, it has obviously spilled way past um, entertainment. And it's, you know, I don't know how you feel, Jamie, but I think a lot of people, myself included, there's so much unease about the future and about where we are, and like a helplessness. And I'm an optimist. I don't believe we're helpless. I just think that we have to kind of come together, as corny as that sounds, and get on the same page. And I think that is so, so, so difficult, if not borderline impossible, if everybody's just riding out for their game. If my guy's
Yeah,
bigger than your guy, and that's all I care about, and my
yeah,
guy, because that's my guy, could do no wrong, or your guy is not my guy, so they can't do anything right. I don't know how we figure this out, and
yeah.
I'm a firm believer that to get people's attention, to make something provocative, it has to be fun, and it should be a ride. It should be something people want to engage with, which is why I chose pop music. It's why, I crafted the film like a pop song, and did that. That's the stickiness and the feel good of it. But yeah, it's it's a thing I think we're all guilty of, and I would love for us to start to talk about it like you and your friend after the movie. You know?
Yeah. And using pop music as the genre is a way to reel all of us in, because that's essentially what it is, right? Popular music. So
Yeah.
everyone would be likely to become vulnerable to Moretti's charms.
As a
Uh, the film deals heavily with power dynamics, particularly between Moretti and Ariel. What was your approach to building that tension, to ensuring that the characters' relationships felt very real and intense?
Yeah. Thank you. I give an immense amount of credit to John and Io. Um, Two of the best doing it. I think Io, John is already goated. He is in a league of his own, one of the best to ever do it on stage and on film. And I think Io will be, one of the best actors of all time. And I know art, you can't quite qualify it like that, but Meryl Streep is one of the best actors of all time. Denzel Washington is one of the best actors of all time. And I think Ayo Edebiri, sooner than later, will be in a conversation with them. So when you have those two, it's a bit like it's a bit like playing basketball with Blake Griffin in his prime or LeBron, where you can just throw the ball in the air and they'll catch it and dunk it. And you can have big, ambitious ideas. And I think the cat and mouse between the two of them, you know, they they relish that. And I think my job as the director is just, and the writer, it's to create these moments where they don't fully get uh, to battle with one another. Because I know where we're headed. We know we're going into this final showdown that I wanted to be seated so that people focused, and so we needed to earn that and to kind of have them circling each other. So it's crafted really to have these quick moments where you want to spend more time with them there, and then obviously all hell breaks loose, and then we have this intellectual back and forth with the both of them. It's one of my favorite things about the film. I think it's one of the most successful things about the film. So I give them all the credit in the world.
Well, I think it's a blessing that as your first feature, you got to work with such a talented and amazing cast of individuals. And this was such a remarkable experience to watch at Sundance.
Thank you.
Congratulations to you. I can't wait for everybody to see this when it gets released soon next month. And
Yeah.
thank you so much for,
Did you get
yeah.
everything you need?
Did I get everything I need?
Yeah, I have like 5 minutes if you had another question or need anything. Not in
Um,
any pressure way, just making sure I know.
I
These
do
things are
have more
fun.
questions, but I was getting the wrap from the
Yes, I guys,
organization.
just yeah, if we can have 5 more minutes, if that's cool.
Thank you.
Of course.
So, okay. So the film touches on themes of control, identity, and artistic obsession.
Mhm.
How did you weave those ideas into the visual as well as the narrative structure of the film?
Say the first half of your question again.
So the film touches on themes of control,
Yeah,
identity, and artistic obsession. So how
yeah.
did you weave those ideas into both? Because it's beautiful visually.
Thank you.
But yeah, like the
Yeah,
visual and the narrative
it's
structure, how did you weave both of those elements in?
some of the ways are just, again, I don't know if these things, Jamie, are like so subtle that anybody will notice, but like, so take York for example. So I'm a huge fan of Isaac Hayes, and I thought leaning into Moretti's bald head, Isaac Hayes made that so sexy, right? And like
Right.
it was like his logo in a way. And so like leaning into that, there's the one on my shot where they're powdering the back of John's head, and but Jorg, the like right hand sycophant, he's also bald. And in my backstory that doesn't exist in the film, he has a full head of hair. He just shaves to look like Moretti. Um, and the way that we bring so much, like, I was a kid who dressed like when College Dropout came out, or I dressed like Pharrell. I probably still try to dress like Pharrell. Um, and so there are in everything that the like people are wearing. Io's character Ariel, she has a Radiohead T-shirt, which
Right.
this and that, or this is a deep cut, and you as a journalist maybe have experienced something similar, but the scene where Io and Murray, I hope I'm answering your question. If I'm not, just stop me after this. But the scene where Io and Murray are on the bus, they are basically wearing the same outfit.
Yes.
And what happens a lot, at least what happened at GQ, is, it's a men's magazine. We often would write about clothes, and there starts to be like a hive brain. And then you start to notice that everybody's kind of dressing the same. And so
Uh,
Io doesn't start that way, but she's like on this big assignment, and you see her and him, and she's kind of mirroring him because she is taking his lead, and this is so brand new to her. um I don't expect anybody to see those. My approach to filmmaking is like, I don't expect for you to see that and to hit you over the head and like, oh, I understand why he made this decision. But I do think the sum of the parts is like a mosaic. You feel it,
yeah.
and there's like an authenticity to it when you feel it. And then I hope, I think every filmmaker's dream is to make something that makes people want to revisit it. And then there's all of these considerations and ideas, and when you go back and revisit it. So, yeah, I love that question. I could give you 3,000 examples, which is kind of the coolest thing about making a film. You get to sneak in all these ideas and things and play around with them.
And when you do revisit it, you'll get to pick up on those little
Yeah,
things, those little nuances, and then you get to have those conversations after the movie and have
yeah,
dinner with your colleague and talk about that.
yes,
So
yes,
I
yes.
love it. I love every bit of it. I love what you've added. So much great stylish flair to the film. I mean,
Thank you.
obviously your work at GQ has helped informed your work as a director. And again, congratulations to you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you so much
Of
for
course.
taking the time to speak to Black Girl Nerds and
What?
all
This is an
to you.
honor. And I love
And
the site. So
thank
congrats
you.
to you. Keep doing the Lord's work. And yeah, we'll see you soon. Hopefully we meet in person soon.
Yeah, I hope so. And I hope I get to talk to you again on your next project.
Yeah, likewise. All
All
right.
right.
All right,
Take
I'll
care.
see you soon. Later.
Better shake your booties for black girl nerds. Better shake your booties for black girl nerds.